212 consecutive hours below freezing. That's what some cities in the Northeast are looking at starting this weekend and extending through the following week. More than 8 days without getting above 32 degrees, and it's happening right after what could be the most significant snowstorm some of these areas have seen in 30 years. Your snow removal plans, your commute, your heating costs, all of it is about to be impacted in ways that are going to ripple through the next 2 weeks. A rapidly intensifying coastal storm is going to bring widespread heavy snow from Georgia to Maine this weekend, but what happens after the snow stops falling is equally important. I am going to show you the exact timing for your area, explain why this pattern is so unusual, and tell you which cities are most at risk for the compounding problems that come when extreme snow meets extreme cold. Drop your city in the comments immediately because tomorrow's video is going to address specific questions for every location mentioned, and the questions I am already seeing tell me people need more detailed information than I can fit in one video. Let me get you oriented with critical timing. Savannah, Georgia, light snow begins Friday evening, potentially accumulating 2 to 6 inches by Saturday morning. Columbia, South Carolina, Friday night into Saturday morning is your window, 8 to 16 inches possible. Charleston, Saturday morning through Saturday afternoon, 10 to 20 inches. Myrtle Beach, similar timing, 8 to 14. Wilmington, North Carolina, Saturday morning is when it gets serious, 8 to 14 inches. Fayetteville, Friday night through Saturday, 10 to 18. Raleigh, this is your big event. Friday night through Saturday evening, 18 to 28 inches in some model solutions. Charlotte, Friday night through Saturday afternoon, 12 to 20 inches. It's Friday, January 30th, and we are now inside 24 hours until this storm begins to impact the southeast. The model runs overnight have shown remarkable consistency, which dramatically increases forecast confidence. When multiple independent modeling systems converge on the same solution this close to an event, that's when you can start to have high confidence in the details. And the details are significant. Let me start with the atmospheric setup because understanding the mechanism helps you understand why this is such a big deal. There are 3 key ingredients coming together. First, we have rich Gulf of Mexico moisture. Precipitable water values over the Gulf are running 1 to 2 standard deviations above normal for late January. That means there's a lot of moisture available for this system to tap into. Second, we have very cold air already in place over the interior. The air mass over the Carolinas, Virginia, and the mid-Atlantic is plenty cold for all snow. There's no warm layer aloft that is going to cause mixing issues. It's a clean, cold column from the surface all the way up. Third, we have tremendous upper-level dynamics. There's a powerful jet streak that's an area of enhanced winds in the upper atmosphere that's going to be positioned right over the development zone. That jet streak is going to provide the lift necessary for explosive intensification. When you combine rich moisture, cold air, and strong dynamics, you get heavy snow. And when the storm intensifies as rapidly as this one is forecast to, you get extreme snow rates. We could see rates of 3 to 5 inches per hour during the peak of this storm Saturday into Saturday night. When snow falls that fast, visibility drops to near zero. Roads become impassable within minutes. Even the most aggressive snow removal operations can keep up. This is the kind of event that shuts everything down completely. The track has stabilized in the model guidance. The European, GFS, and Canadian models are all showing the low-pressure center tracking from the Georgia coast on Saturday morning to a position about 50 to 75 miles east of the Delmarva Peninsula by Saturday evening, then continuing northeast to a position just southeast of Nantucket by Sunday morning. That track is close enough to the coast to bring heavy snow to the I-95 corridor, but far enough offshore to keep the heaviest precipitation in the sweet spot from the Carolinas through the mid-Atlantic and into southern New England. Let me go through the snow forecast in detail, and I want to emphasize that these are not worst-case scenarios. These are the most likely outcomes based on current model guidance. Starting in Georgia, because even though you are on the southern fringe, you're still getting impacted. Savannah, the latest runs are clustering around 4 to 8 inches. That would be highly unusual for Savannah and would cause significant disruption. The last time you saw totals like that was probably 2010 or 2014. Your city infrastructure is not designed for this. Augusta, 6 to 10 inches. Athens, 4 to 8. The northern suburbs of Atlanta could see 2 to 4 inches, while the city proper might only see a coating to an inch, but even that small amount is enough to cause problems in Atlanta. South Carolina, you are right in the heart of this. Charleston, I mentioned 10 to 20 inches earlier this week, and the models have held steady in that range. The latest European model actually shows Charleston right in the heaviest banding, potentially seeing close to 2 feet of snow. That would be unprecedented in modern Charleston history. Your city would be completely shut down for days. The bridges would be impassable. The historic district would be buried. This is a generational event for Charleston if this verifies. Columbia, 10 to 18 inches is the range we are looking at. Most of the models cluster around 14 to 16 inches. That S crippling for Columbia. Greenville, 8 to 14 inches. Spartanburg, 10 to 16. Myrtle Beach, 8 to 14. Florence, 12 to 18. Sumter, 14 to 20. Rock Hill on the North Carolina border, 10 to 16. North Carolina, this is where we potentially looking at historic snow totals. Let me start with the triangle because that S where the models are most aggressive. Raleigh, Durham, Cary, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest, Apex, the entire Triangle metro area is in the zone for 18 to 28 inches of snow. The European Model S latest run shows a swath of 24 to 30 inches from just southeast of Greensboro through Raleigh and extending northeast toward Rocky Mount. That S not a typo. We are talking about potentially 30 inches of snow. That would shatter records. Nothing in modern history would compare. The city would be shut down for a week or more. This is disaster-level snow for an area that is not equipped to handle it. Greensboro, 16 to 24 inches. Winston-Salem, 14 to 22, High Point similar. Charlotte, the models have been remarkably consistent, showing 14 to 20 inches for the metro area. That's absolutely massive for Charlotte. Fayetteville, 12 to 18. Wilmington, you are closer to the coast, but still in the heavy snow zone, 8 to 14 inches. Greenville, North Carolina, 14 to 20. Rocky Mount, 16 to 24. Wilson, similar. Elizabeth City, near the Virginia border, 10 to 16. Even Asheville in the mountains is going to see 6 to 10 inches, though you are more on the edge of the main system. Virginia, the Old Dominion, is squarely in the impact zone. Virginia Beach, 14 to 22 inches. Norfolk, same range. Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Newport News, Hampton, you're all looking at similar totals. This would be absolutely historic for Hampton roads. The tunnel systems are going to be nightmares during the storm. The military bases are going to be significantly impacted. Richmond, 12 to 20 inches. The state capital is going to see major impacts. Charlottesville, 10 to 16. Fredericksburg, 12 to 18. Lynchburg, 8 to 14. Roanoke, 6 to 12. Danville, on the North Carolina border, 10 to 16. Northern Virginia, every jurisdiction is looking at major snow. Fairfax, Loudoun, Prince William, Arlington, Alexandria, you're all in the 10 to 18-inch range. Some models push higher for the western suburbs. Leesburg and areas in western Loudoun could see up to 20 inches. This is going to absolutely cripple Northern Virginia. The Beltway will be impassable. Dulles Airport will shut down. Reagan National will shut down. The entire region grinds to a halt. Washington, D.C., the forecast for the nation's capital has been upgraded with each model cycle. We're now looking at 12 to 18 inches for the city proper. Maryland suburbs could see slightly higher amounts, potentially 14 to 20 inches in Montgomery County and Prince George S. County. This will shut down the federal government. This will be a major event that gets talked about for years. Maryland, statewide impacts. Baltimore, 12 to 18 inches. Annapolis, 10 to 16. The Eastern Shore, Salisbury and Ocean City, 8 to 14. Frederick, 10 to 16. Hagerstown, 8 to 14. Southern Maryland, Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's counties, 12 to 18. The Baltimore-Washington corridor is going to be completely shut down. Delaware, Wilmington is looking at 10 to 16 inches. Dover, 8 to 14. The beaches, Rehoboth and Bethany, 6 to 12. The entire state is in the impact zone. New Jersey, the Garden State, is going to see significant impacts, but there's more uncertainty here than further south. Northern New Jersey, Newark, Jersey City, Paterson, you are looking at 10 to 18 inches. Central Jersey, Trenton, Princeton, 8 to 16. The shore is where the uncertainty comes in. Some models keep you mostly snow, some show a period of rain or mix before changing to all snow. Atlantic City could see anywhere from 6 to 14 inches depending on how that plays out. The same is true for Ocean City, Wildwood, and other shore communities. But even in a less favorable scenario, you are still looking at significant snow. Pennsylvania, Philadelphia is in the sweet spot, 12 to 18 inches for the city and suburbs. This is major snow for Philly. The main line, Delaware County, Montgomery County, you are all in that range. Allentown and the Lehigh Valley 14 to 20 inches, Reading 10 to 16, Lancaster 8 to 14, York similar, Harrisburg 10 to 16, Scranton and Wilkes-Barre 14 to 22. The Poconos are going to get absolutely buried, potentially 20 to 30 inches at elevation. New York, the Big Apple is now firmly in the significant snow zone. All 5 boroughs 12 to 20 inches. This is the kind of snow that shuts down New York City. The last comparable event was probably 2016. The subway system will struggle. All 3 major airports will shut down. The city will grind to a halt. Long Island, Nassau County 12 to 20. Suffolk County increases as you go east. The Hamptons could see 18 to 24 inches. Westchester 12 to 20. Rockland County similar. The Hudson Valley 10 to 18, Albany 10 to 18, Syracuse 12 to 20 from the main system, then additional lake effect. Rochester similar, Buffalo 8 to 16, then significant lake effect. Connecticut statewide major impacts. Southwestern Connecticut 12 to 20, Bridgeport similar, New Haven 12 to 20, Hartford 12 to 20, Eastern Connecticut 14 to 22. The northeastern part of the state could see some of the highest totals, potentially 20 to 24 inches. Rhode Island, Providence is looking at 12 to 20 inches. The entire state is in the impact zone. This is major snow for Rhode Island. Massachusetts, Boston, you are about to add 14 to 22 inches on top of the 2+ feet you already have on the ground. This is becoming a critical situation for the city. Snow depths of 3.5 to 4.5 feet are going to create serious problems. Roof collapses become a real concern. Snow removal becomes nearly impossible because there's nowhere to put the snow. Worcester, 14 to 24. Springfield, 12 to 20. The Cape starts as rain, changes to heavy snow, ends up with 8 to 16. New Hampshire, Manchester, 12 to 20. Concord, 10 to 18. Portsmouth, 8 to 16. The White Mountains, 20 to 36 inches at elevation. Vermont, Burlington, 8 to 14. Montpelier, 10 to 16. The Green Mountains at elevation could see 16 to 24. Maine, Portland, 12 to 18, starting Sunday. Bangor, 10 to 16. Augusta, 10 to 16. The timing for Maine is later than areas further south, which means you are getting heavy snow Sunday into Monday morning, then immediately transitioning into the brutal cold. Let me talk about the wind because this is critical. This storm is going to generate extreme winds along the coast. Sustained winds of 40 to 55 miles per hour are forecast from the Outer Banks through Cape Cod. Gusts could reach 70 to 85 miles per hour, especially on the immediate coast and over the open waters. These are damaging wind speeds. These are winds that will bring down trees and power lines. Combined with heavy snow loading on trees and power lines, we're re-looking at the potential for widespread, prolonged power outages. Blizzard warnings will be issued for portions of this area. The criteria, sustained winds of 35 miles per hour with falling or blowing snow reducing visibility to a quarter mile for 3 hours or more, that's going to be met in multiple locations. This is a blizzard for parts of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. The wind is also going to create life-threatening coastal flooding. The Outer Banks are looking at major coastal flooding Saturday afternoon through Sunday morning. Water could be pushed 4 to 7 feet above normal high tide in some locations. Oceanfront properties are at serious risk. Coastal roads will be flooded and impassable. Evacuations may be necessary in some areas. The Virginia coast, similar situation, major coastal flooding is likely. Delaware beaches, significant flooding. The Jersey Shore, particularly from Atlantic City south, major flooding is possible. Even Long Island as South Shore could see significant coastal flooding. Now let us transition to what happens after the storm, because in many ways, this is the more concerning part of the forecast. Sunday night into Monday, as this storm pulls away to the northeast, the circulation around the low is going to pull down the coldest air mass we've seen so far this winter. I am talking about truly Arctic air that originated over northern Canada and Siberia, being pulled south and east into the United States. Monday morning temperatures are going to be brutal. Let me go through this systematically, starting in the south. Miami, 32 degrees, that S right at freezing for Miami. Fort Lauderdale, 30. West Palm Beach, 28. Interior South Florida could see temperatures in the mid-20s, which would be devastating for agriculture and infrastructure. Orlando, 25 degrees. Tampa, 27. Lakeland, 24. Daytona Beach, 26. Jacksonville, 22. Tallahassee, 18. Pensacola, 24. Gainesville, 20. Georgia, Savannah, 20 degrees. That S after whatever snow you get from the storm. Brunswick, 22. Valdosta, 24. Macon, 18. Augusta, 16. Athens, 14. Atlanta, 16 degrees. Albany, Georgia, 22. Columbus, 20. South Carolina, after potentially historic snow, you are going into a deep freeze. Charleston, 17 degrees. Columbia, 14. Greenville, 12. Spartanburg, 10. Myrtle Beach, 19. North Carolina, the entire state in the deep freeze. Wilmington, 18 degrees. The Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, 12 degrees. That means all that snow, potentially 2 feet or more, is not melting. It is staying frozen on the ground. Greensboro, 10. Winston-Salem, 9. Charlotte, 11. Asheville, 8. Fayetteville, 14. Virginia, statewide bitter cold. Virginia Beach and Norfolk, 16 degrees. Richmond, 12. Charlottesville, 10. Roanoke, 8. Northern Virginia, 10 to 12 degrees. Washington, D.C., 9 degrees Monday morning. Wind chills near or below 0. Maryland, Baltimore, 10 degrees. Ocean City, 14. Delaware, Wilmington, 11 degrees. New Jersey, Newark, 9 degrees. Trenton, 8. Atlantic City, 12. Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, 8 degrees. Allentown, 6. Harrisburg, 7. Scranton, 4. Pittsburgh, 2. New York, Manhattan, 7 degrees. Long Island, 8 to 10. Albany, 2 degrees. Syracuse, 0. Rochester, 1. Buffalo, 2. Connecticut, Hartford, 5 degrees. New Haven, 6. Rhode Island, Providence, 6 degrees. Massachusetts, Boston, 4 degrees. Worcester, 2. New Hampshire, Manchester, 2 degrees. Concord, 0. Vermont, Burlington, 0 degrees. Montpelier, -2. Maine, Portland, 2 degrees. Bangor, -2. These are air temperatures. When you factor in wind chills are going to be extreme. Interior New England could see wind chills of 15 to 25 below 0. The Mid-Atlantic could see wind chills of 0 to 10 below. Even coastal areas could see wind chills well below 0. But here is what makes this different from typical Arctic blasts. It's not leaving. Tuesday morning is going to be even colder in some locations. Wednesday shows no significant moderation. Thursday, still cold. Friday, still cold. We re-looking at potentially 7 to 10 days of sustained below freezing temperatures for the entire eastern United States from Florida to Maine. That's extremely unusual, especially for the South. Let me explain why this cold is so persistent. There's a blocking pattern setting up in the upper atmosphere. High pressure is building over Greenland and the North Atlantic. When you get what we call a negative North Atlantic oscillation, that blocking pattern, it tends to trap cold air over the eastern United States. The jet stream, instead of flowing west to east in a relatively straight line, develops a large trough over the east. Cold air pools in that trough and can easily escape. This pattern looks like it's going to persist for at least a week, possibly 10 days. What this means practically is that whatever snow falls this weekend, it's staying on the ground. There's no melt period. There's no warm-up. In the South, where you might normally see snowmelt within a day or two, even after a significant storm, it could stay on the ground for a week or more. In the North, it's definitely staying. Boston, your snowpack is going to be measured in feet for the foreseeable future. The extended cold also creates compounding problems. Heating systems are going to be running non-stop. That means higher energy costs and increased risk of equipment failure. Pipes are going to freeze, especially in the South where they're not as well insulated. Roads that get plowed are going to stay icy because nothing's melting and evaporating during the day. Black ice becomes a persistent multi-day problem. For areas that lose power during the storm, losing power when it's 15 degrees is one thing. Losing power when it is 5 degrees is much more serious. And if power stays out for multiple days while temperatures stay in the single digits, that becomes life-threatening very quickly. Let me talk about the human element because that's what really matters. This is not just an inconvenience. This is a dangerous situation that's going to persist for over a week. People are going to die from this event. That's not sensationalism. That's reality. Traffic accidents during the storm, heart attacks from snow shoveling, hypothermia for vulnerable populations, carbon monoxide poisoning from improper heating. These things happen every major winter storm, and with an event of this magnitude and duration, the toll is going to be significant. If you're in the impact zone and you haven't prepared yet, you need to do it now, today. Food and water for at least a week, medications you need, flashlights, batteries, a weather radio, blankets, and warm clothing. If you have a fireplace, stock up on wood. If you have a generator, test it and have adequate fuel, but use it safely outside. For your home, make sure you know where your water main shutoff is. If you have pipes in unheated spaces, they are at high risk of freezing. Let faucets drip in vulnerable areas during the coldest nights. Open cabinet doors under sinks to allow warm air circulation. Bring any pets inside. Stock your car with emergency supplies if you must travel, though I strongly recommend staying home. Check on neighbors, especially elderly or disabled neighbors. Make sure they have heat, food, and medications. Offer to help if you can do so safely. This is when communities come together. For homeless populations, this cold is deadly. Shelters are extending hours and adding capacity, but outreach is critical. If you see someone outside, direct them to services. Make that phone call. It could save a life. Let me address some specific concerns I am seeing in comments. First, structural concerns about roofs. If you already have significant snow on your roof and you are about to add another foot or two, you need to monitor this. Most modern structures can handle the load, but older buildings, flat roofs, or roofs that already have damage may be at risk. If you can safely remove some snow, do it. If not, monitor for signs of stress like sagging ceilings, cracking sounds, or doors that suddenly dawn to close properly. If you see these signs, evacuate the building and call authorities. Second, concerns about food and supplies. Stores are going to be mobbed today and early tomorrow. If you go early and be patient. If you can get everything you want, focus on essentials. Calories, water, warmth, everything else is secondary. Third, concerns about work and school. Most schools in the impact zone will likely be closed Monday and possibly longer. Many businesses will be closed or on liberal leave. If your employer hasn't communicated a plan, ask. If you can work remotely, that's going to be the best option. Fourth, travel concerns. If you have travel plans this weekend or early next week, I strongly urge you to cancel or postpone if at all possible. Airlines are already issuing waivers for affected cities. Amtrak is likely to cancel service. Driving is going to be extremely dangerous, if not impossible. This is not a situation where you want to be on the road or stuck in an airport. The forecast confidence at this point is very high for the overall pattern. Major storm, heavy snow, extreme cold, extended duration. The specific details, exact snow totals for individual locations, exact low temperatures, these could still shift by a few degrees or a few inches, but the big picture is locked in. For tomorrow, I'll be doing a real-time update as the storm begins to impact the southeast. We'll be tracking the actual snow rates, the observed winds, the coastal flooding, all of it. If you want those updates, make sure you resubscribed and have notifications on. The bottom line, the eastern United States is about to experience a winter weather event that will be talked about for years. Historic snow potential for the Carolinas and Mid-Atlantic. Major snow for the Northeast. Dangerous cold for everyone. Extended duration that creates compounding problems. The time to prepare is right now. Take this seriously. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I'll see you tomorrow with